this morning, which I'm going to be an apology for the first part of. So the Deputy Mayor will lead off the council meeting this morning. There is an important groundbreaking ceremony on for the Earthquake National Memorial this morning with the Prime Minister and the kai whakahaere of Ngāi Tahu, Mark Solomon, and it's a three-way partnership, so it is my intention to be there with them this morning. So I do give my apologies for the later meeting. We're under a reasonable pressure of time here, but what I wanted to do was start off by saying congratulations to councillors and staff who have worked phenomenally over the last couple of days just to get those tidy-ups to the boundaries, and the boundaries are now looking very, very good. So I think that we're probably in a position to resolve that the city be divided into the 6 wards named below, with boundaries as shown on the maps and reflecting identified communities of interest as follows. So we've circulated to you the full list of proposed wards: Banks Peninsula, Heathcote, Waimairi, Innes, Burwood, Cashmere, Fendleton, Linwood, Central, Hallswell, Hornby, Harewood, Coastal, Riccarton, Papanui and Spraydon. And if you turn that sheet of paper over, what you'll find is that notes that the population that each member will represent is as follows, and you'll see that they are all within the quota, as it were, within the threshold, except for Banks Peninsula, which is a glaring exception to the rule. But we knew that it would be a glaring exception to the rule. The Local Government Commission may or may not accept this. It is something that the Local Government Commission will decide. And I think I just want to kind of repeat this because there's obviously been a little bit of chatter on Facebook, as there normally is with these sorts of matters that get reported, just simply to make the point that the council was legally obliged to do this. We were legally obliged to look at bringing Banks Peninsula into the city. The overwhelming weight of submissions that we received was not to have Banks Peninsula included as part of a city ward, but to have it as its own separate ward as it is now. And as a result, we've spread the communities of, we've kept communities of interest together very carefully across the city. So I think we've done a really good job faced with the obligation that we have at this particular time. So, but this all goes out for public notification once it's signed off next week, and once it's publicly notified, the people who made submissions on it can submit again, and this time it goes to the Local Government Commission. Because there is the glaring anomaly of Banks Peninsula, there will be a hearing, and it will be here in Christchurch, so there will be an opportunity for further discussion about the challenges that our city faces with a representation review at this time. So the real debate today, I believe, will be how we group them as community boards, and that's a separate sheet of paper which you also have in front of you. I'm not sure, do they have that in front of them? They do? Okay, and you'll see that there are 3 options there, and the option that probably has the most equal numbers is really option 2, which sets up a separate ward for Central. And there are those that have, the Banks Peninsula are the exception, obviously. In this particular instance, you'd end up with 9 wards, though. So it's just a question of how people feel about that. I don't, as I say, I'm really open to what we put out there. Obviously, people will be able to make submissions through to the Local Government Commission, and of course option 3 has only 7 community boards, so and that's because there are 3 groupings of 3 and 2 groupings of 2. So I'd just ask you to turn your attention to those. I think that's what the focus of the debate will be on. But if people are genuinely happy with the work that's been done, then I would like to look for a mover of the resolution. Andrew, seconded. option, can we just deal with the resolve that the city be divided into the 16 wards named below? You'll move that, and seconded by Tim. Any debate? Yanni?
Oh, it's just some clarification in that some of the communities of interest are duplicated in 2 wards. So just need to kind of...
That's because they are, but we divide them by mesh blocks. So
Right.
these descriptions are of census area units.
Okay.
And the census area units are sometimes divided if there's different mesh blocks.
And do we need to name the census area units? Or it's just a way to give people visibility
It's the
of
easiest description.
This is the description that we're dealing with today. We'll have the formal resolutions that we put to the council next week.
You know, that's fine. I think maybe we could just put a note, and because when people read it, you know, we had a number of submitters, just a note down the bottom, just explaining what you've just said. I think that would just be helpful.
Okay.
So
An explanation note for the description.
Explanation. I think that's very helpful. Thank you, Yanni.
Great, thanks.
So, is there any debate? Paul, Jimmy, just remember that the questions? It's 20 to 9. You have questions at this time?
Last time, whether we have already voted the 16, the small ward.
Yes. What
So
we're
what's the
doing.
difference?
Remember, we went away to do the boundaries.
Just the boundaries.
The boundaries have been done.
This is the only decision.
The boundaries have been
Okay.
done. There have
Yeah,
been
yeah.
some retweaking.
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought I'd explain this. We've done some retweaking of the boundaries.
yes.
Everyone has been incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
I think we've got a good result here.
Yeah.
The boundaries look like they have met our legal obligations in terms of communities of interest, but they've also reflected actual expressions of communities of interest
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the
yeah,
communities
yes.
themselves.
Okay,
Yeah?
just want to know. Yeah.
So is there any debate?
Can we discuss how the wards would fit in the options now?
No, I want to get this resolution passed,
okay.
and then we will move to the options. Yeah, I wanted to explain that if we don't leave time for the debate on the options, we will run out of time. Right. Is there any discussion on the resolution? We resolve that the city be divided into the 16 wards named below. It's right in front of you. It's that big, long piece of paper. And it's going to now include an explanatory note as to the mesh block system. Okay? Is there any debate?
Yeah, just quickly.
Yanni?
No, look, I just wanted to say that we've had a lot of discussion and debate and hearings into this. We've had a lot of community engagement. I think we've come up with what is a really fair compromise to address all the different competing demands. So I'm happy to support this, recognising that we've had those individual debates on the different aspects of the things that we wanted, but I think this is a good solution to balance the competing needs that have been expressed.
Thank you. Paul?
Look, I realise this is what appears to be a compromise in this whole process. I still believe that if we're going out to bat for Banks Peninsula being an individual ward, that I think we should go out and bat that we leave things as they are. I mean, we only had just over 100 people who actually come in and submit on this process. I don't think it's enough.
Look, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to rule you out of order, and I mean this kindly, because I don't think that you realise that you're breaching standing orders. The resolution, we've already carried the resolution that we're going out with 16 wards. We've already resolved that we would come back today with the boundaries. So this is really just about the boundaries. You can rehearse the debate next week that you will have in public about why you don't think we should be doing this. That's fine.
That is fine.
But this is, given that we have decided as a council to go out with public notification on the 16 wards, it's just, you know, by majority, we've made the decision to go out with the 16 wards. These are the boundaries, reflecting communities of interest.
That's fine.
So I really do think it's a yes or no vote.
Yep.
Okay? Agreed. Right. Okay. I will put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. That's Jamie and Paul. No. Okay. Thank you. And do we want to note that the population that each So I'll move that we note that the population that each member will represent is as follows, and Vicky will second it, and I will put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. It's just a noting provision. It's a noting provision. We're not agreeing to anything. We're not. That's fine. That's fine. It's perfectly appropriate that you note it. You'd like to highlight it. You just did. Right, now we'll move on to the options. Does anyone want to move one of the options? I'd like to move option 1, seconded by Tim. Right. Is there any debate on that? Paul. Phil.
That's all right. I just want, I think that the double pairing of wards into doubles where we can achieves the best result. I would believe that the councillors for Fendalton and Waimari will be okay with it being 3 because they advocated that in terms of the size of the wards. And what I just want to comment about the area I currently represent, Spraden Heathcote, which would now become Spraden Horswell. I think from what people, that's what's down, isn't it? Yep. Well, I think it's a good idea. In terms of I think that is the best combination in terms of the way the new wards would lie. The people from on the west side of Henderson's Road, they told us very specifically they wanted to join Hoonhay and Spraden. So clearly there are people in the Horswell ward currently who travel that way, who would see Spraden as being sort of connected with where they live. And the other thing too is I think it's a really good pairing because this is an area of future building development. There are significant flood issues and a lot of work that needs to be done. So I think it would be an ideal joining up of the two wards. So altogether, I believe that Spraden and Horswell would be a good combination as one example of the pairings that which we have.
David?
Look, I don't have any extra grime with as far as representation because the pairings are the same for Burwood and Coastal all the way through. I just have one query over the pairing of 3 wards, well not the pairing, joining of 3 wards together. Does that effectively mean that the representation by ward diminishes for each of those? Like, for example, a paired ward would probably have 3 councillors from for each community board, where per ward. Yeah. So, and under this system, the representation for Fendalton, Waimari, and Harewood would be 2 members per ward, because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that over the city the same number of community board members must prevail. So whilst I have an empathy of joining that up, I feel that we will end up with an unfair representation per ward for the community board in one that is now amalgamated with 3. You count joining up 3. So on that basis, I would actually probably move an amendment to support option 2.
There is a resolution that will come in terms of the numbers of elected members from each of the subdivisions and appointed members, as in the councillors, that shows 2 per ward, regardless of whether you're in a 2 ward or a 3 ward.
But you're still. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm under the understanding that no matter what community board you have in the city, they have to have the same numbers.
They have to, each sub-district, and we discussed this last week, each sub-district within a ward has to have equal representation, but they don't have to be equal as between each other.
It's only within them.
Well,
you can't have 3 for Harewood and 2 for Waimari. It's got to be 3 all or 2 all.
Well, I'd probably just want some clarification. From the way I understood it the other day was that every community board in the city had to have the same number of persons on it. And that's Vicky's nodding her head as well.
No.
That was the understanding I took from
No, because,
advice that was given the other
there
day.
might be bigger community board areas. And if there are bigger community board areas, it's the numbers of sub-voting areas in each area that has to be the same.
If that's the case, I'm happy. But the advice we were given the other day, and I'm sure Vicky's going to agree with me, is that each community board, regardless of whether they were 2 or 3 sub-areas, had to have the same numbers.
No, you don't have to across the city, no.
Okay.
That's my understanding too, and I see Mary agreeing, and I just want to ensure from the
just
start
noting that some districts don't actually even have community boards covering their whole district, so may only have, Wellington, for example, has only some areas covered by community boards, the Tawa area, etc. So they don't actually have to be even.
So do we have to put up a resolution to decide how many community board members per subset we will have for...
Yeah, but we need to vote on the groupings, and then sorry, I didn't have that third resolution in front of me, so then we need to look at the numbers appointed to each one.
Okay, I'm happy.
Okay, Andrew.
Thank you. So I'll speak to the groupings. I'm certainly happy with the first principle that we, where possible, put 2 wards together rather than 3 in order to bring democracy as close to the people as possible, which has been an overriding theme of certainly things I've said in the debate right the way through. I believe that the pairings that we've got here are appropriate. I'll speak in particular to the Heathcote-Cashmere pairing, which I think brings the Port Hills and its issues together, so issues of rockfall and just issues of that particular landscape. It also means when you look at those 2 wards with Banks Peninsula, you've got all of the Port Hills issues, so rockfall issues, Summit Road Society, all of those Port Hills issues together, just between those 2 wider community boards. The Fendalton, Waimari, Harewood, under this model with the numbers coming at 8, which we achieved by using the resource that was originally allocated in the proposal to the Akaroa Wairewa Community Board to create 1 additional community board in the city compared to the original proposal. That left us with 1 needing to be paired as 3. And I guess my thinking behind having that as the 3 pairing is aligned with comments that the 2 current elected members for that area, the 2 councillors for that area, have made around triple groupings. Looking at this compared to the other models that are in front of us, I believe that this is the most workable in terms of grouping communities of interest and reflecting the areas where there were submissions relating to boundary issues between the 2 wards in each case. So very happy to be putting option 1 forward.
Vicky?
I'm not in favour of Hawthorne going with Spring. As I understood it, and all of the Hawthorne submissions I heard, both here and in the run-up to here, were around Hawthorne staying with Richmond and Cornbury. And so suddenly, without asking them at all, we just go Hawthorne into a completely different part of the city. So I'm not comfortable with that at all, and we're doing that to accommodate the good people of Banks Peninsula. So I'm not in favour of that in the slightest. The other practical issue is around the 3 wards coming together, and I have no problem with 3 wards coming together. Obviously, it's how we've operated for the last however long, 2 years. But the practical outcome of that is if you have 3 wards, and say each of them were electing 3 community board members and a councillor, you've got a community board of 12, which is outrageously big.
2 plus 1 from each, so 9.
9, but then you've got 2 community board members, which is
3 councillors.
And 3 councillors.
Yes, so
2,
that's
2, 2, 1, 1, 1.
2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1.
Yes.
9.
Yes, 9. But if you're saying that you can, from each community board area, say in the other ones, elect 3.
No, you can't. 2.
Well, that's just what David was asking.
Yes, I know, that's what we just said. We just said it's 2, 2. It's 2 regardless of where you're from, except I think there may be a review of Banks Peninsula. It's too big. It ends up with 9.
I don't have a problem with
It's too much.
that. Except obviously some areas are electing more community board members than others, which I don't think is...
1 is. 1.
Well, well...
It's Akaroa.
Akaroa's electing...
Banks Peninsula. Yeah.
So I'm assuming
Yeah.
we've got 2 wards appearing, they're each electing 3 community board members from each ward.
No.
The suggestion is
2.
2, right, okay, fine, no problem with that. That's all fine.
So your preference is option 3?
Option 3, because it's the only one that puts Rickton, Hornby and Hillsville together, which is what I heard from the residents of Hillsville in the process leading up to and including.
Yeah. Tim, then Jimmy.
Thank you. I'm in favour of option 1, and the key reason, Heathcote and Cashmere have some issues, as my colleague pointed out with regards to the hills. There's also the Heathcote River. I think it's a good pairing. I mean, I've been working with Councillor Chen with regards to the Westmoreland residents group and some issues over there. I mean, that type of work won't change. So I'm comfortable with option 1, and I will support it in that regard. Thank you.
Jimmy?
Okay, thank you. Because I support it is the 16 small ward. However, regarding the boundary, I would like to go to option 3, because each community board have a different kind of a community connection, and also have a different community of interest. And my understanding, regarding to the boundary of a community board for each one, then the draft one is for the currently. For instance, like the Hoswell, Hornby, and the Rickton as the 3 small ward as the one boundary, and also the resident association community board are all based on this criteria to it's like to make the deputation. I heard from the community board, especially Rickton community board, and also from the Hoswell Resident Association. They will change the boundary, but they have no any idea. Suddenly the change, I can accept. And also regarding to the Hoswell, they particularly mentioned that actually is the kind of Hoswell has had the kind of with the Rickton community board. So it's for many years, especially back to the history, the Paparua Council County, they're already in the Rickton region. So I'm not against some other, the word, how to 2 or 3. But regarding to Rickton region, Rickton, Hornby, and Hoswell, there's a part of together for many, many years. It's difficult to divide it. So that's why I prefer the option 3.
Look, I'm just going to suggest another way of handling this. The core decision was to get the wards sorted, which is what we referred to today. This is also was part of it. But I've been talking sort of offline with Mary up here. I feel like I'm not even going to vote on this. I'm going to abstain, because as the mayor, I don't sit on a community board. I don't have the sense of connection with the communities of interest and how they come together at the community board level. And in many respects, you guys are the experts on the subject matter, whereas I'm actually not. I'm a generalist. I look across the city as a whole. So I'm actually wondering whether it wouldn't be a good idea that we actually refer this matter. Well, I haven't heard anyone supporting option 2. You prefer option 2? Okay, well, we refer all 3 options to the council meeting that will formally decide the notification on Tuesday. And in the meantime, we can look at the 3 options, and I wouldn't even necessarily entirely rule out if people were able to resolve amongst themselves, that there might be another option that produces a better result altogether. I want you to have the paper on the numbers. Has that been distributed as well? We'll distribute the options around the numbers as well, because I think that will help clarify some issues, but it will also probably spark some amendments around the numbers, because we do end up with rather too many representatives on the Banks Peninsula with the proposal that we have in front of us. So, and as I say, I really want to kind of, I mean, I'm not washing my hands of it. I'm just saying that I don't have that. I have an overarching role for the city, not an individual community board by community board role. So, David, did you feel that you had to add
query
something to that?
in part of our deliberations, do we have to decide whether we elect community board members by division or by grouping?
We already made that decision. So the only decisions we need to make now are the groupings for community boards and the number of members, both elected and appointed, that are made to each one of them. That's
Okay.
all we have to decide now, and we can defer that decision till Tuesday. But if I just encourage councillors to talk amongst themselves, to work with Jenny, because that process worked very well for the original decision, and I think just with there is goodwill around the table. People want to achieve groupings of communities of interest. That's all I'm hearing. I'm not hearing anything self-serving. I'm not hearing anything of self-interest. I'm hearing about communities of interest that have traditionally been grouped together and want to remain together. So I think that we just need to work it through. I don't think we should feel compelled to accept the 8 ward number. I think we could look at 7 and we could look at 9. So I just think that we're opening it to a conversation about what would produce the best result given the wards that we've now agreed to notify. Jamie, Yanni, Phil.
I just wonder, with this, my views are reasonably well known around all of it, but however, I don't know if you're going to get absolute agreement on this, and I almost wonder, I just think we need to make a decision, and I think it would be a lot tidier
Look,
to
I would
put
like
it now
to.
by majority.
I'd like to foreshadow that. So no, in fact, I won't foreshadow it. I'm going to move. I'm going to move because we've got nothing to debate at the moment. I'm going to move that the hearing panel refer the matter of community board structure to the council for a formal decision next Tuesday.
So I'll second that.
Thank you, Phil. Is there any discussion? Yanni?
Yeah, I just, when it comes back, I think it's really important that we do get some quite clear information. So, if you take option 2, my understanding is Central, if they were their own community board, they would have 4 members for 20,000 people. So they get 1 community board member per 5,000, whereas all the others would have
Can
1
I
per
just
10 or
can
20.
I just say that have that conversation, have that discussion. We will come back and debate that on Tuesday.
Leanne, I agree with this process. I'm supporting it a second. And I just want clarification too, though, about process. And like I heard you say very clearly, that clearly this is something that we as councillors should discuss among ourselves as representatives of the community too. I just want to I'm aware, though, that in fact we are like a hearings panel. And I just want to check on the process regarding submitters and on, say, clearly, and we know that some already wanting to contact us. And I just want to check about the process around that.
This is the hearings panel is deciding not to make the decision. We are referring the decision on this matter to the council.
That's right. And I'm assuming then too that at this stage, though, we've heard from submitters. And in fact, if attempts are made, and to be blunt, to lobby us, that in fact we need to put aside that we need to now take into consideration what submitters have already told us. But I just want one of the staff.
Well, except that you won't be making the decision as the hearings panel.
The hearings panel will finish today. That'll be the end of the hearings panel. And so this hearings panel will make no further resolutions and decisions. So all decisions now will be referred to council.
Yeah.
That clarifies that. Thank you.
So all of
people can't make deputations.
No.
No. People can't make deputations to the meeting itself. Yeah. But I look, we're not absent connections with the community. But I think that I've absented myself from the vote, so no point lobbying me. So, but I think it is appropriate that I don't vote because, in many respects, how the community board groupings come together, my real interest is that the communities of interest are well represented around this table. That's my responsibility. I think that if the elected ward members, in terms of what's going out into the public for now reference to the Local Government Commission, because that will be the next step after the decision that we make on Tuesday, I think that is appropriate that you bring your combined wisdom to the table. We will find a solution. There will be a good grouping that will work, and if we can get consensus, that would be great. If we get a majority decision, that will be fine. So that's really it. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Can I again formally thank all of the staff for the work that they've put in to bring us to this point. I know that it has been extremely challenging. I really like the new process by going out and having a very low-key but very far-reaching conversation with a wide range of people that wouldn't necessarily make submissions on things like representation reviews. I think there were over 3,500 people connected with in that way, which may not sound like a lot in terms of the numbers of the population of Christchurch, but actually in terms of receiving submissions on matters, it's actually a very good reach. And I'd like to formally thank Jani Johansson too for chairing the subcommittee that was put the representation review together, and his team of people around him as well. So thank you all very much for your hard work, and I declare this meeting closed. Thank you.